Good morning. Some charts. Well, you got what we expected yesterday running in place. So, what about today? I suspect it's going to be a little more of the same, limited upside and downside. Uh, so, as always, we look at where the potential moves are, where there's a lack of support or resistance. And so the Qs are gapping up a little bit, as you can see. They got past that resistance area yesterday with, I would say, some authority with a wide range bar up, and it looked like, okay, you can go up there and test the 20 or maybe a little bit more, but no, whipped right back down. And they didn't fill the gap. And if you look at a 5-minute chart, they didn't fill the gap, but the S&Ps did. And so that was this rally, um, in the end of the day there, as it didn't continue to go down. No, the charts are not showing. I clicked it. See, green. Okay, they're up now. All right, thank you. Yeah. So as I said, they blasted up through that resistance, and I call it schizophrenic type of price action. But everybody's waiting for this news tomorrow. Let's see what it does. But we got a wide range bar right out of the gate, which suggested it would go higher to the next level. But after spending a little time up there, it came all the way back down. And I said the S&Ps filled the gap. We'll look at that, but you can see these didn't. And so I thought they'd go down there and fill the gap, as things were declining in the afternoon. And so as the S&Ps began to bottom out and curl higher, I'll show you that on a 5-minute chart. It's right here. So the S&Ps look somewhat similar, but I had mentioned in the room yesterday, the latter part of the day, it's like, it was this down move, and it's like, okay, up, and then bottoming tail, red bar ignored. It looks like it's gonna advance, and advanced quite a bit more. So maybe some short covering, maybe just enthusiastic buying, but in any event, it pushed up, and so now we've got this big trading range. I think it's unlikely we're going to get out of it. Right? There was already the news this morning, and I was looking at that ADP employment came in under consensus and well below the previous time, which would support, okay, they're going to cut. But meanwhile, the markets aren't making any ripping move to the upside. They're actually pulling back. You can see right here. Um, yeah. Support resistance levels. And so let me bring this up to yesterday's low as first support there, and we'll see if it can get out of here. Excuse me, but they're going to get some kind of a rally. There is some kind of room for day trades. All right. The diamonds were an inside day. Didn't get up to that area, just back and forth here, just running in place to a nothing. Here's IWM, looked like it was going to go higher, and there's the same wide range bar, and all the way back down, held this overnight low and back up to resistance. That's where it's at right now. That's not doing much of anything either. And let's look at spiders or into these. So this, you can see on the 5-minute chart, the same down move into the gap fill. That's this green area, the gap fill, and then there was this buying on the dip, the wide range bar, and the retest, and surprisingly relatively strong rally for the end of the day after this decline. And so where things are at here, giving it back a little bit into this resistance. This should be, if it's going to pull back, I think everybody's waiting. This should be a downside. You've got a little bit of a void here now. If it can hang up here or flip right back up in the first 5 minutes, if it does flip right back up, we'd have to have a long bias at least to be able to get a little bit higher. Just repeating, but the news, SPX, not much of anything happening here. None of yesterday's numbers were even come close. Things didn't go anywhere. You can see SPX came down toward the gap fill and back up again. Couldn't get through resistance. It was a ping pong kind of a day. 6,400. We anticipated that would be a strong level, and it didn't even get down there. So now it's here a little bit, and these are the numbers: 6,485, and unlikely to get there. Well, it could get there. I mean, it would have to come out of the blocks here in the first few minutes, showing that kind of strength, like it could push up, can get through this area and then keep going. But anything down here, which you can see is down below the whole number, I think should be a no-brainer. So any if it does dip for whatever reason, down below the whole number should be fine. Interest rates, they dropped yesterday, and they're down a little bit more here. And so big question, do they violate this minor support area that we've been talking about for the longest time to go down to the next one? And I mentioned in the room yesterday, just happened to take a look at some other instruments, and wood has fallen tremendously lately. And so it made me start thinking, interest rates dropping like this and some commodities dropping like that, all we need is the transports to kick in and start going down. And so far they're not, they're holding up. And, some recession, stagflation, all that jabba that we've heard for the longest time, and nothing came yet. But keep an eye on these transports to see what they're going to do. And gold and silver, new all-time highs, John. So there's the speculation. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about this rounding bottom, and this bar right here, this little correction bar. So there's, they moved a big amount. There's a wide range bar. The expectation is the momentum would stall, and it has. And a chart like this, you anticipate there's going to be buyers on pullbacks. So somewhere down here, give or take. You can see on the 60-minute chart, right down here is where there's a significant support area if it should pull back over there in the next couple of days. Silver stalled as well. You see it's holding on the support. Same thing. There's buyers on pullbacks. And what you want to see, and one of the things is when it runs up like that and it shows that kind of strength, ideally it doesn't spend much time there before a pullback. You want to show that traders want to get out even in the strength, and it pulls back, it makes the higher low and this kind of hook pattern, and it goes right back up again. So if it goes sideways for a couple of more days, at that point, we really want to see a breakout type of a pattern. So we're in waiting to see what it's going to do. Just want to see what the dollar's doing here. Continues to hold up. Continues to hold up in the face that the Fed is supposed to do this cut. And one of the things that might think, maybe they're not. He's going to be defiant, or the contrarian point of view, where the majorities believe that they're going to cut at least a quarter. Some speculate a half. And if they do nothing, I think common sense expectation would be that markets will drop. Now, the 13-week continues to fall. And I haven't looked at that CME tool since, well, I guess, the end of last week. I don't know if that has increased at a higher level, but this is the measure that we've used forever as to what the Fed's going to do. And this is strongly says that they're going to cut. And I mean, look how far this has fallen. Well, it's a quarter of a, right, from 4.25 down to 4. If they do nothing, it's going to be a huge shock. Right, Bitcoin doing nothing. That's broken down. So you're just waiting to see what that's going to do. There's no pattern here to do anything. We do have a wide range bar. For the moment, that's been ignored. It retraced back up to the top. So, there's buyers here, but it's a messy pattern. Nothing to do at this point. And yeah, I think we've covered it all. SPX, interest rates, transports, metals, futures. I mean, the futures are going to look the same as the ETFs, but just going nowhere here, just running in place. And pick your spots like yesterday, coming down to a gap fill, a high probability place where buyers would be. And it moved more than what I would have anticipated because of the decline in nothing all day. And we saw a few stocks really that typically do not. This was one of them that typically do not give back all the gains. So this was one at yesterday's open that ran immediately. I was like, it came up to that 240 level where there was a large open interest in call options. And I was like, okay, it's not going to go much higher. I didn't expect it to come all the way back down like that either. And actually, the setup that usually works failed. It happens. And was right here, right, where it comes down here and it took out the low of the day and it springs back up. And so at that point, I thought, okay, and it came down hard, but a scalper trade. But no, it failed and just kept going down. So it was some unusual, profit taking yesterday. And, if you look around different stocks, I mean, it was over a month ago, a lot of stuff started to deteriorate, even though the market's holding up here. So the Fed had better cut, or that numbers better show that they're going to cut, or, September is going to live up to its nasty reputation of being the worst month of the year. All yours, Dan.
Yeah, the green room did a good job. Well, some did playing that afternoon little scalp into the close, the 5 and 15 and hourly. We're all lined up for a bounce. I didn't think it would go that far though. So alarms here. A TV alarm. We actually sold that yesterday for a beautiful gain. So it's an old alarm. Cuervo Gold. We have a half lot of this, doing nothing. Sloppy buy setup. And that's it, an alarm. So Cal C alarm. This is a 123. It's just light volume is all. But a beautiful 123. A little, it's an inverse head and shoulder with a bigger right shoulder. But you got bullish weekly, monthly. So I like the setup there. Let's go right to earnings. HPE. I actually sold a put spread on this myself. I did a couple of them. I'll tell you as I always do. Oh, John, gold, silver. I know. I think we're against it at all-time highs, but um, we are long SLB in the ETF ladder. And Debbie asked me on this day, or maybe one of the last 2 days, I forget. she said she sell. I'm like, well, these are igniting bars all over the place. So I said, let's go through them one by one. What Greg showed the gold futures, and this is a GLD. Now that's more climactic than silver. That's a climb up, but still, look at this beautiful 1, 2, 3 entry right there. So yeah, they look like they're going to pull back. We have one core long I gave, and let's see, where are you? HYMC. And so what's today? Thursday. So on Tuesday, when this got far from the 20, we sold the $6 calls to leg into a covered call to lower our cost basis. All right, back to earnings here. So my HPE expires tomorrow. I'm just bidding a penny to get out. In terms of a new trade, I don't see anything. AEO, Bali, Sam, and I, maybe others, I don't know. We did a directional earnings trade on this. So we bought the $13 calls and the money. And so, Bali, you're actually going to make more money than us because Alex and I, after market, I did mine right at like 1680. So right here, I shorted stock. And so that locks in our gains with one exception. We still have 8 DTE on those calls. And so we're not 100% hedged, and because the delta on that long call is going to be less than shorting the stock. But so for you, I would just look to sell strength, just arbitrarily, maybe just as soon as it trades under a 5-minute bar's low, just kill it. And then waiting 5 minutes will also allow um, the spreads to tighten up. But if you do get out before the spreads tighten up, do not forget the trick I taught you about intrinsic value, and then add the what you think is the proper extrinsic value. And how do you do that? Easy. You look at the corresponding puts. All right, all that makes sense. Cream, getting cream 242. If it were gapping at 230, then I would be all over this thing doing a put spread. But right now, I just don't know. I need more information. GitLab, I did the 40s myself. I did the 40. I don't know. I got a little 40, 35. I forget. GitLab. No, I did the 40, 38. So I'm bidding a nickel to get out. AI continues to get clobbered. Which that's a big gap, but I got no bias right now. This one I sold naked to 57, so that one's going to be a loss. I'll just sit with it for a while. There was no pattern. I knew that. My rationale was, hey, with things down from 140, I'm doing it $10 lower, and as of right now, it's not working. I'll just deal with it. Curdo gapping up. That's a big gap. Possible a call spread, 30-minute low, 1 DTE. Asian, it's a breakout, but gapping at this prior high, nothing to do. Papa Delta. That tail does not look real to me at all. And so just looking at the 15-minute chart, gapping down and going sideways. This looks like a 5-minute low short idea. This is one of these charge point things. Biden cramming EV down everyone's throat. So that looks horrible. Gapping under $10. I don't know what to do with it, but You had a sell set up here in the weekly. Look at this downtrend. Look at that downtrend, man. I didn't notice that until I opened up the chart more. This had to have had some splits. This thing was 550. Had to have had a split. But thank you, Biden. This is telling you, don't cram things down consumers' throats that cannot support themselves. DSGX is one of these patterns. It's either a double bottom or it's a continuation and a downtrend. And if it opens here at 98 bucks, short 30-minute low. Tilius, bottoming pattern, gapping up, might go to the 200, which could be a good trade, but the trade's wild intraday. MEI, I don't see where it's opening, but has room. If it opens flattish or up a little, it looks higher over the week's time. Sienna is flying 150. Wow, that's a big gap. But that's one of those that's bullish. It's a bullish gap, but possible excessive. So my bias is 30-minute low, 1DTE call spread, TTC gapping down here to the 200. Bearish gap, no pattern. SIAC, this is one. It's a bearish gap, but excessive. Look, this thing went down all the way down to 90 bucks pre-market. It's already rallied 10 bucks. But my bias is it's just a textbook bias. 30-minute high put spread. But somebody flagged that there's no weeklies on it. Old Wiley's whipping around. Now it's a bearish gap down here. That could be a short idea. It's sell set up on the weekly. G triple I gapping down a little, no pattern. DAVA, that's a nasty gap percentage wise. Wow. Look at that. Last night it looks like it popped up to 15. Now it's under 11. That's an ugly beating. Bullish gap 193 here. Penny stock. Water drop. Yeah, keep an eye on it. Shoe Carnival 2450. Bullish gap, but excessive. Cal, Continental Airlines. Nasty gap, but excessive. Flowers. Nasty gap. Man, that's a big gap. I made the comment yesterday that I remember when this thing became public in the 90s, when things were the crazy internet days, and everybody would just the new today the new thing is AI, right? You could say you're a gas station and put the word AI after it, and it's going to go up. Same thing back here. You could just say, hey, open a website. I sell flowers. But so I made the comment. I was kind of surprised this thing is still around from the 90s. Oh man, I was to Travelers. I had this on my list. I mentioned it as a day trade yesterday. Swing, I guess wasn't sure the reward to risk, but that had a nice move yesterday. These are all just miscellaneous things now. Berto making the turn. IMAX. I don't know why I'm looking at you. No pattern. Corning. Look good. That was a crazy sell-off in the morning. Hewlett Packard. Yeah, these are just old watch list items. That was a buy setup. CMRE had a nice day. RHP. I don't like the overlapping bars, but put spread idea. Ah, that's one I mentioned in the green room yesterday, 5. So that is a nice, very nice 15-minute end of day base. I'm gonna put that in a window. That looks fantastic. As a day or swing trade. Day trade, I don't mind if it triggers based on day trade. But when I use the word swing, not only does the pattern support it, which this one does, but I gotta watch, my bias on the broader markets if I'm entering more as a swing. This Peace guy, recent IPO, buy setup. Tro, this is not earnings. But this thing's up huge today for some reason. That is an igniting gap. Look at that. You got a rising 20, rising 50, consolidated, and boom, it's igniting again. But there's no pattern. Look at this neon. It was a nice bear 123. Sam, I know you had it on your list, but is this a bio? Neo node? Not that I care, but I'm just totally curious of what the news is to cause such devastation. No, technology, electronic components. What was the news? I'm just curious to get an ass kicking that bad. I mean, that's, man, you got a stomach ache if you're along that thing. Dove, it's at the prior lows here, but it's, bearish daily, weekly, monthly, but we need a continuation pattern. Saying that was on your list, but I want to go back. We don't short from the top of the range to the bottom. That's not our entry. But we need it to chop around here and give me a few more bars to show that it can't bounce. Same with this. It's down 6 bars. But it does have a void, and you got a sell set up on the weekly. Just not an entry here. I just saw this thing gapping today. Look at this. This to me, whenever you see things that pop and they get slammed, just looks like a pump and dump operation. Eat. That's an igniting gap. That's a beautiful put spread idea. That's a beautiful pattern with its converging MAs. So if somebody will help me watch that one after 5 minutes, we got to watch the pattern and obviously watch the and then check the premiums and all that. I read about this in this was mentioned in the journal of Trump's family Bitcoin business. What a crazy pop yesterday. Look at that, 100% range from 7 to 14. Incredible. All right, old Oscar gap breakout, but no entry here. SNY bearish gap, but that's an ADR. 30-minute high though, put spread if there's one DTE. All right, I got filled on one of my option trades. Look at this thing's been wild. Just saw a pre-market. GE. I don't have time to get into it right now, but I heard the union guy talking pre-market, kind of gave me a headache listening to him. Did I get filled on my HPE at a penny? HPE at a penny. Ah, look at that. So see, look, it's as of right now, a little gap and crap. And see, that's why you got to put orders out at the open. I got filled at a penny and I'm done with it. I got the 22 puts. BHC. All right, this thing's stopping out. That was a beautiful buy setup. We sold some at the high though. JBGS. I had low alarm go off, but that looks like a bad tick. So let me reset it. This 5 I mentioned is moving. I'm not chasing. Look at this SIAC. Look at that. Now $20 off the low, pre-market low. You see why I had that as the put spread idea, you all? So our thinking was totally correct. Q's holding the best here. Daily's a mess, but I'm looking at pre-market here and I'm looking at 15 an hourly. They're not, 15 an hourly are up a lot from that 330 rally, but this rally right here, but it's holding well. You can find individual stocks. Wow. No, I wouldn't short that. Man, that's an igniting gap. All right, lazy boy. Alarm. My up alarm went off, but then it came back on. Oh, our MOH put spread is not looking good. AEO, don't watch to unhedge. Or, Alex, another way to do it if you don't want to mess around with unhedging is you just just put an order. Just put an order on to close them in one position. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Trying to put an order out, didn't get filled yet. Spiders holding well too. That's bullish pre-market 15. I don't like entering right here. Meta of 21. What the heck? Oh man, that's one that we were gonna do a condor on yesterday. We dodged a bullet. I did not get filled. I tried. And Meta and Amazon and Netflix. What is going on with these things? They are in Microsoft and NVIDIA. So that explains the strength in the cues. Makes it left up a little bit. SMH still relative weakness though. Fill on my GitLab, what's for in. And I killed my AEO for a nice profit. It's 5, came slamming back down here, but I'll keep an eye on it. Sky alarm, up alarm, sky. And our Pulte is up, so housing is good. Toll, Toll House cookies, yeah, housing looks good. We added 3 housing positions yesterday. This MOH is a problem. We had the 165s, so we're not stopped out, but not what we want to see. Qs now, we got a 5-minute 180 reversal. So how was your gain, Bali? What do you mean off the cliff, Neil? I mean, it's bearish, but I'm not sure what the cliff means. Silver. Greg, how do you want to manage our silver? We got in on this.
Again,
How do you want to manage SLB? We got in on this gap up thing.
Tosca. Well, sure, it looks like it's gonna go higher.
Let me sit through it. All right, PDM, let's tighten the stop. Just had an up alarm, 846.